from different professions, tribes, cultures, and religion. Join us every Monday to Friday as we share our views on topical and social issues.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Hello and thank you for joining us on the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Benga Oreshegun. Today on the program, President Tinubu launches 2,000 tractors in Nigeria's largest agriculture mechanization drive. Federal government refutes U.S. Embassy's advisory, says Abuja is safe. And later on the show, PDP workers shot officers walk out on Samuel Ayawu as PDP governors meet INEC amid neck tension. Well, I'll be hanging out with Mayor Akinpelu and Asukwo James. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. In policy, bold steps speak louder than words. And today, agriculture is getting its moment in Nigeria. In what is described as Nigeria's largest agriculture mechanization drive, President Bola Tinubu has launched the deployment of 2,000 tractors across the country under the Renewed Hope Agricultural Mechanization Program. President Tinubu said this initiative is part of efforts to boost food security, support smallholder farmers, and improve Nigeria's mechanization rates. Now let's hear from the President.
As governors, whatever you have procured, we're also going to do more. This equipment, when deployed, to empower mechanization and service providers, create job opportunities, make farmers easy and more sexy to our younger.
Экономику нашей братской страны.
Initiative of His Excellency President of Nigeria aimed at enhancing food security of his country is timely and strategic. Its implementation will definitely bring positive impact on economy of our brotherly country.
Farmers are known to be interested in farming without drudgery. The equipment we have here today will definitely reduce drudgery among farmers and increase productivity. Where we are supposed to have maybe 2 tons per hectare, these equipments here are capable of supporting farmers to attain double that particular level.
I mean, the President said he wants agriculture to be sexy.
Yeah, I don't know
It
why.
got to me though. But anyway, the President has launched 2,000 tractors to boost agric mechanization. But in your opinion, what specific gap in Nigeria's agric sector is this mechanization, aiming to fix?
2 things. One, it will move us to the modern age because majority of our farmers are still based in the rural areas and they don't have access to mechanized farming. There are some big farmers, that have access to mechanized farming, but the majority of the farmers are not those big farmers, but the average Nigerian who every day go to farm and try to do their business. So this will assist because now the state can organize these farmers in cooperatives and then do a lot of things for them collectively, planning of things and other things that you need to do that you don't need to hire laborers or put a lot of effort. Mechanization makes it easier. So we'll be able to bring a lot of our farmers into the modern age. You remember that there was a time that to boost agriculture, there was a particular governor that distributed wheelbarrows and all that.
Yes.
That was the level that we were operating at that time. So the mechanization will be able to bring a lot of the farmers into the modern age. That is one. Two, mechanization will be able to encourage a lot of young people to get into farming.
That's what the president's talking about.
Yes, that is why he used the word sexy.
Sexy, exactly.
So that what he meant is that it will appeal to the younger people because there's a lot of work and effort when it comes to farming. It's a lot of effort. And a lot of our young people are used to technology doing things for them.
Absolutely.
They open their phones, they can do a lot of things with it. Sometimes they don't need to go to the bank, they can do all their transfer on their phones. So if you want to encourage people like that into farming, you must take away the tedious part of that
and bring
business
technology
and bring technology to it. So it's easier for them to be encouraged to get into it. Those are the two things that I think we tend to achieve with it.
I mean, beautiful. I need you to also comment on that. But also, there's this particular part I need you to look at. I mean, how is this new initiative different from past agricultural mechanization efforts that has been done way back? Is it just going to be same of the same, or this was going to be different?
Well, some governors are already keying into it. But I know the governors of Borno State and Jigawa, they spend billions of naira trying to see how they can introduce mechanized farming.
Okay.
So this one is quite different because we are now seeing what the government is saying that they want to do. They said they are going to do mechanized farming. Nigerians are now seeing tractors on ground.
Exactly.
So the next phase should be this distribution. How to deploy this,
very key.
These tractors to the 777 local governments.
774.
And ensure that the local government key into it, not just carrying this thing and putting it in the office there and leave it there and say, okay, anytime we want to, or
some politicians divert
now want to cut another tip after the president has already done that. You understand? So by now, local governments that are involved should start looking at where are they going to move these tractors into so that they can employ the youth. Mayor said something, technology. There's nothing as more fascinating as technology for the youth now. I've seen farming outside Nigeria where they use drones.
Drones, yeah.
Drones,
yes.
So I want to believe that will be part of this whole arrangement.
I also saw what Governor Ibanji in Ekiti State also doing, we're bringing the youths there, even do DSTV, where the farm settlement.
That is settlement,
exactly,
farm settlement.
to attract them.
That is it. So if it's going to be part of it, it would entice, so many youths,
absolutely.
To go into farming, not just about saying they want to do cryptocurrency and all that, So farming will be more...
And get scammed at the end of the day.
Of course. So this is quite different because you are now seeing things on ground.
True.
And so it is now left for the minister to start pushing these things. Because there's nothing as good as having food security. Because we are talking about this is targeted towards the wet season farming.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so after the wet season, they should also be talking about the dry season. So what will happen next? So they have to be that plan. So now that the president has done this in terms of getting tractors on ground, that is the first set. The second should be the deployment. Where are they deploying to? I heard they are sending about 200 containers to Lagos. Where will it be going to? We need to see all those things documented and let Nigerians begin to see which farm is it going to go to? How many hectares of land are they going to cultivate?
Yes.
What are they going to plant? So those are the things that Nigerians need to see so that at the end of the day, we are not importing food. We will be the ones to even be exporting
exactly, net export
outside
of
Nigeria.
exactly. Asuko raised a very, very important one. How will this 2,000 tractors be distributed? Is it going to be region by region? And we hope that it will not be taken over by politicians, diverted.
No, I don't think so, because you see, there's a mechanized program
Transparency.
under the Ministry of Agriculture.
Okay.
So what the Ministry of Agriculture needs to do is to put a system in place local government by local government. You cannot, because this is under the purview of the Federal Minister of Agriculture and not the governors. They will work with the governors, the Minister of Agriculture in each state.
Okay.
But basically, I expect them to put a structure in place to be able to now put this thing on ground in each local government. And the best way to go about it in each local government is to encourage these farmers to go into cooperatives. That is something that they are used to, because when central bank wants to disburse funds to them, they encourage them. Because when they're in a cooperative, then you can monitor them. You can account for them. So when you give them all these tractors and other things that you need to do to achieve the mechanized farming, you cannot do it on individual by individual basis, because that won't work. So you have to put these farmers into cooperatives so that the major, for example, now if the tractor is in this local government, there will be a schedule for the tractor, how you are going to move farm by farm. You understand? Because the cooperatives, they will be close to each other. Everybody will know their needs. Then the coordinating person will be able to know that these are the things, these are the implements we are going to give you, these are the seedlings we are going to give you. And then they now monitor them. Apart from that, governments should also do a follow-up by making sure that they assist them when they have these yields, so that there can be storage facility. Because major problem that our farmers have is that when they harvest, there is no storage facility. So most of it is end up as perish goods, and because it's time bound. So storage facility must put in place. There must be better security in all these farms, so that the people can get to those farms. Because if you put all these mechanized implements on ground, and the storage is not, and the people cannot access their farm, you won't achieve your goal. Or if people cannot have storage facilities to be able to do that, then after that, there must also be ways of moving it from storage to the market, so that they can get value for whatever they are doing.
Mayor has raised a very beautiful point here, because as beautiful as this initiative is, without power, without good roads, and without storage, because we are trying to meet food security now. If we don't get these three factors right, it may not be achieved. What should the government do to make sure that this matters? No, so these factors are addressed.
You said something about farm settlement.
Yes.
So for now, for this to work, every farm settlement in all the local governments should be able to have good roads. Must have good roads.
So that means the state government should make sure that the roads leading to the farms,
those farms are good.
Or accessible roads.
Accessible roads, exactly.
You understand? You know, and then there's lights. Because if for instance, if you have a farm settlement and there's no, nothing is attractive there, no youth will want to go there. It's like you're taking the person who was in the urban center
and taking to the bush.
Back to the rural center. So the best thing is make it attractive. And I think one of the things that I didn't add here is this whole arrangement, apart from how it was before, there is spare parts for these tractors.
Yes, because there's somebody that is in charge.
Because somebody is in charge. It's the manufacturers that are now
and
here.
And then training facilities.
And training how to also...
Exactly.
When once anything spoils there, there's a spare part for it, and then somebody is fixing it. So this is now different. So it's now that if you have a tractor, anything happens to it, somebody is there to fix it. There's no point saying, I want to wait for another 3, 4, 5 years before you get spare parts. The spare parts are there. So this is a major plus, for this government. And then the farm settlement, apart from, good roads, the government has the need to do that.
Okay.
Electricity, because some farms, if not all, require power.
Absolutely. For storage, for a lot of things.
And even water.
Exactly.
If you are doing fish farming alone, all
you
these
need lots
fish,
of water. You need lots of it.
Using farm cements for the younger people, and then the ordinary farmer that goes to farm food, and then the ordinary farmer that goes to farm from zone, they put them in cooperatives. I think we should be able to get there.
Beautiful.
Put them in cooperatives. I think we should be able to get there.
Beautiful one coming from.
In terms of the US, Nigeria is number 3, level 3. So they decided, okay, fine. Which countries do we have citizens that are prone to, trade? Don't forget the Iran and the Israel issue. America has actually put themselves inside too, one way or the other. So so definitely they'll also be looking. And don't forget, they also Iran actually attacked their base in Qatar. So where else do they have interest? Nigeria is one of the places they have interest, and they have citizens here. So normally it is not just only Nigeria. The alert is for all countries that they have embassies, for their citizens to know where to go to. In Ghana, they also sent the same thing. I was reading that of Ghana, where to go to and where not to go to. So is a security alert to their citizens for them not to go to certain places where they will be attacked. Now, if you are going for official duty, you'll be secured. But when you know that you are going to a club, for instance, nobody is going with you, and then people know that, okay, you are working there, you might be prone to attacks. Now, another thing is, because of this Iran-Israel war, don't forget that the headquarters of the Shiites is Iran. And FCT, sometimes they usually have these Shiites having demonstrations.
Even though they've been proscribed?
Yes, they've been proscribed in Nigeria. But sometimes they have this demonstration in Abuja. And at the end of the day, it ends up with violence and the police trying to, ward them off and, ward them off, the streets. So the US will be having that intelligence, reports all the time. And though it has not happened this year at all, I've not seen it happening this year. But because we have some element of Shiites who usually do these demonstrations, they will always give their
procession,
their procession. So they will give this advisory that please don't go to certain places. But I can categorically say that FCT is safe for anybody. And thankfully, the federal government came out to say this because it's just a security it's not a major security concern for
so us. It's not about Nigeria. It's not about Nigeria. It's about their own citizens.
And they just to warn their citizens not to go to certain places. But thankfully, the FCT, the minister came out to say that they are free to go to anywhere.
Absolutely.
Nigeria is safe. And we can also tell Donald Trump and every American citizen Nigeria is safe.
Absolutely.
So they should just calm down.
Tell Donald Trump to calm down. I mean, but the response given by the minister, how will you rate, Nigeria's response to this advisory and correcting the narrative?
Beautiful. Everybody's just doing their job. The minister is expected to say what he said. The American government or American embassy is expected to issue the kind of advisory that they issued. Because like he said, we have to be honest with the fact that Shiites are established in Nigeria. We've had issues with them. In fact, because of this strike in Iran, they demonstrated in Kano, in Kano and Katsina. The Shiites demonstrated in Kano and Katsina. And usually, when they demonstrate like that, apart from Kano, Katsina, they usually also come to Abuja. Being the state of government, to do procession and to demonstrate. So, and they know that based on what happened in Iran, and because of the Shiite population that we have in Nigeria, and how strong they are, because they are very strong. Remember that there was a time they had confrontation with government, and almost 400 people died and all that. So it is okay, it is in their place for them to advise their citizens to say, look, we don't know what will happen, but it's possible that Shiites may decide to go to
so
protest.
they're just being proactive.
Yes, to protest, and it could cause problems. So you have to be careful where you go to and all that. But that does not mean that we have security issues in Abuja. Abuja, as far as I know, is one of the safest capitals in the world. So the minister is within his rights or within his official duty to say, look, we don't have any security issues in Abuja, and citizens are free to move anywhere they want to go to. So both of them are doing what they are expected to do.
I mean, the federal government, even though has refuted this claim, Apart from refuting this, what else do you think the government needs to do to reassure not just the American citizens, residing in Abuja, also citizens, residents in Abuja, that, hey, things are good, we are safe security-wise? Apart from just saying, oh, things are safe, do you think there's some things that should be put on ground to reassure them that, hey,
well,
you're safe?
You want the police to, begin to do a show of force, around the metropolis, But even at that, you will even be scaring people the more. You'll be scaring, the residents of Abuja. So the best thing is the federal government should keep doing what they know how to do. Keep talking to people, assuring people that things are really calm in the capital. Because if you say you want to start to do show of force, people will know that there's something that is happening.
Okay, you think they could be apprehensive with that?
No, they can't even do that.
You can't do that. Let people walk and do whatever they want to do, in terms of going to their normal duties and all that. It is only when we have those guys having procession, that is when the police will now have to, find a way of trying to ward them up, because they are proscribed in Nigeria. And I think that is where the federal government will has to come out to reassure the U.S. government, as well as other governments. It shouldn't just be only because the U.S. has said, oh, there's an advisory for their citizens. You assure them and tell them that, don't worry, these guys, if at all you are having this notion that, oh, it's the Shiite that you are afraid of. No. Nigeria has proscribed these guys. We don't have anything to do with them.
Yes.
Yeah, we might have, like a relationship with Iran, in terms of other things.
Yes.
But the thing is, in terms of security in Abuja, Abuja is safe. Some people still walk in Abuja in the night. If you go to Abuja at night, it's like daytime. It's like daytime.
Nightlife in Abuja is beautiful.
Oh my God, you don't want to think about it. So people, the American government, what they are doing is just a duty of care. And I know that it is because of they might analyze their intelligence to know that, okay, this is what might likely happen. Just like Nigeria. Nigeria also do this in other countries. And they also advise citizens, if you go outside, the Nigerian government will advise their citizens, please don't go to certain places. Yes. After all, in America recently, there was a shooting in a church. But I'm not sure the Nigerian government actually issued
an advisory,
don't go to certain places. So, but the thing is, they have issued that advisory, but they will have to reassure, the federal government has to keep reassuring and assuring, the American government.
Do you agree with him on that?
Absolutely. We don't need to do more than what we've done.
Okay.
What you need to do is to reassure both your citizens and the U.S. Embassy that the city is safe, the government is on top of things, and there's no need for anybody to be apprehensive or whatever will happen in the city. That's what you need to do. You cannot do show of force or anything.
Exactly.
What you need to do is to reassure the people. And at the level of the cabinet, at the cabinet level, which is the minister, because now the person that is saying this is Minister of Information. It's not just a government official, but the highest government
is a spokesman of the government.
Yes. So that is what you need to do, to reassure everybody concerned that there's no security threat in Abuja and that everybody can.
Even though now that we've established that this advisory is not against Nigeria, but for the residents, U.S. citizens who are residing in Abuja, let's look at it from another area now. Nigeria is looking for FDI. Nigeria is looking for investment. Do you think this kind of advisory can hurt Nigeria in terms of investment,
no, not at all.
In terms of tourism, in terms of diplomatic cooperation?
Not at all.
We don't have anything to fear?
You know why? Because U.S. embassies and the State Department, they issue advisory time and time again for different countries. Based on perceived threat to their citizens. And like I said, because of the Iran-Israel problems, and then the U.S. attacking Iran, they just felt there could be a riot because we have a large population of Shiites in Nigeria. And that they felt That could be procession, that could be, which happened because there was a protest in Kano and Katsina.
Exactly.
It's just that they didn't get to Abuja. But then there was protest in Kano. So it was not out of place for them to say, oh, the Shai population may decide to protest, which they did.
Okay.
So it is not, that does not make Nigeria less safe. In fact, the advisory, for example, is not a bigger threat than Boko Haram or banditry. So that will not stop people who want to invest in Nigeria to come. That will not stop them.
So we have nothing to fear.
No, nothing, absolutely nothing. I just hope the media too would also help.
Okay, the media, exactly.
Yeah, sometimes, the way we caption things like insecurity in Nigeria, all those things are some of the things that people are outside. I think
journalists, we really need to do when it comes to headlines like that.
I was saying something about the killings, the shootings in the church in the U.S. We didn't hear insecurity in the U.S. You understand? It's just a shooting. And it happened.
But why is it that our people do that? Even when the way they cast their headlines, it can be really scary.
The media, we need to also find a way of trying to see how we can also help the country with the way we push this. We know that there's insecurity.
But you know that the media has changed.
We know.
Now, there are a lot of people, we don't have gatekeepers like we used to have. Before now, there are gatekeepers within the newsroom that make sure that certain things don't get published, that make sure that certain headlines have to be looked at before you cast those headlines. But now, we are in the new media age.
Citizen journalists everywhere.
Everybody wants to make money.
Everybody is a journalist now. Anybody can publish anything.
Bloggers calling themselves journalists.
A magazine. So the standards has been lowered to an extent that things like that will happen, and there's nothing we can do. A lot of people publish. In fact, a lot of people now publish magazines or do online journalism, and they don't even understand the basic tenets of journalism.
Absolutely.
So we cannot do without things like that. We have to just live with it. That's the new age that we are.
No, we can't just live with it. We need to do some re-engineering.
Because the new journalism, the new age journalism, social media and online journalism, or what the internet has brought, you cannot really regulate it. You understand? That's what I'm saying, that there are a lot of people who will just wake up and then start online paper and start publishing. And can write anything. You don't even know where the guy is.
Exactly.
So unlike when we have the traditional media, where, like I said, there are different gatekeepers.
Yes.
A reporter just don't bring a story and it gets published.
It must pass through your editor, your associate editor,
sub-editor, you go to that. There are people that cast a line, will go to that. So there are gatekeepers that make sure that things are done properly.
All right, gentlemen. We need to go on this quick break. And when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go anywhere. Still Journalist Hangout.
I'm Nifemi Oguntoye, news anchor with TVC News. My day is usually busy and it's difficult keeping up with breaking news stories, trending stories, business news, stock exchange and what have you. But with TVC News on WhatsApp, I'm able to catch up with all the breaking news, real-time updates and trending stories on the go, right on my phone, no matter where I am. It's quick, easy and always on. And here you can join us by scanning the QR code or using the link on our X and Instagram. Why wait? Come to the side of news that keeps you ahead. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
All right, if you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangout. I still have Asukwa James and Mayor Akimpel is also right here at this table. Now let's move straight to our next conversation. Political parties thrive on structure, order, and clarity of leadership. But what happens when the center no longer holds? In a new turn to the ongoing crisis in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, workers at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja staged a walkout on the National Secretary, Samuel Ayaun, locking offices in protest and demanding transparency over the direction of party leadership. The protest began with Ayaun's claim to be the National Secretary of the party, despite the Supreme Court's ruling. Meanwhile, governors under the umbrella of the PDP decided to meet with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, over the party's 100th National Executive Committee meeting. Okay, two stories in one. Let's start from the beginning. Mayor, shutting the office and also staging a walkout. Do you think the action of these workers is beyond the narrative of Samuel Ayaun as the National Secretary?
It's beyond...
or there's something else we don't know?
No, it's beyond Samuel Ayaun. It is just a continuation of the malaise that PDP has found itself. PDP as a party has sunk to a level that there's no question, there is nobody that is in charge. That's the problem they have in the party. Nobody is in charge. There is the governors forum, the PDP governors forum, struggling to take control. There is Wike. That is the godfather of the party, trying to lay claim to controlling the party. And that is what is playing out. Because Ayaun is in Wike's corner. The Southeast Caucus do not want Ayaun. They've already mentioned that someone else is their own candidate. And they've been having problem with that. The Supreme Court judgment that people are talking about did not resolve that problem.
But to some
extent, it didn't resolve it. Because there's still a lacuna. The Supreme Court said it is not the duty of court to determine those who should run political parties. That it is the duty of the political parties to decide who will run the party.
The legal team of Samuel Ayaun may want to argue with you on that.
But the problem with it is that Samuel Ayaun, before now, at the last conference, at the last convention, was the national secretary of the party.
Absolutely.
So you cannot until you do another convention
which comes
you
later
cannot
this year.
remove him. That's the problem they have there. So the Southeast Caucus are saying that it's okay that they won. They cannot achieve that because anything you do and Ayaun is not involved is null and void. Because the other person will not have a basis to stand on to be able to perform those functions. Because you need a national convention to do that. So some people, led by Bukola Saraki, are trying to convince others to say, look, let us just stay with Ayaun
for the period.
Just till maybe November.
Let us get to the next convention. Then we can put somebody that we want so that we can solve this crisis.
But why are they so in a haste that no?
But a lot of people still don't want to agree to that. And you see, I don't see how people can get out of this. Because when they solve a problem, when they look as if they want to solve the problem,
a bigger one comes.
The governors forum came and tried to bring sanity and all that. And one of the things they created a committee headed by Saraki and said, look, reconcile people, try to let us see how we're going to go ahead. Now, they wanted to do the NEC meeting, which was supposed to come before the convention. INEC is not recognizing it. And if INEC does not recognize whatever you do, because they pretend over political parties, you are just wasting your time.
But that's another thing. But we'll still get to that point, though. But let's still talk about it. I mean, was this action actually targeted at Samuel Ayaun, or is it a part of a broader discontent, within the structures of the PDP? I mean, what is it about Anyanwu that they have issues with?
No, I feel, the staff is the staff and the management that actually work.
Yes.
So, and it's like some people have already said, okay, Anyanwu should stay one place and then bring another person to become acting national secretary. But it doesn't work that way because there are guidelines when it comes to political parties. And who is in charge of these guidelines? It is INEC. In as much as we want opposition party, it has to go through the rules. Anyanwu, when he was leaving to go and contest, he did not resign.
He did not.
He did not resign. He was still there. He went there and he came back. He said he wants to.
When he lost the election,
he came back. PDP sometimes they just behave as if they are out for self-destruct.
But the court has not said he lost the seat.
Now. Nobody, did anybody take him to court over it? Nobody. What the Supreme Court said is, go back and solve your internal problem.
Yes.
And your internal problem, who was there? It was Anyanwu that was there. So why not just allow him to just run his course? Because that is why most people are defecting.
That is the reason.
Because they are not sure who will sign their...
Yeah, because if a wrong person signs it happened in Safara.
Yeah, the APC laws.
You will just lose everything, yes.
Understand? So everybody is just trying to, be cautious about, I don't want problems. So if you people solve your problem, if you are ready, maybe they can go back, we don't know. But the thing is, as it stands now, everybody, the staff, that they don't want to see Anyanwu because they feel that Anyanwu is their problem. But they are supposed to also sit down to look at it. Why can't we solve this problem? Why can't Anyanwu be the national secretary and then run his course till maybe November?
That is what Saraki told them.
Yes, exactly.
Saraki said, let us just allow this guy to get to November.
Because
we'll do a convention.
If they bring Anyanwu now, he'll be signing. November, they have election in Anambra.
Yes.
Who signs? If it's not Anyanwu, then the candidate that they have is just wasting his money.
Somebody will go to court and said that, look, this
the wrong
person was not here.
Exactly, the wrong person signed.
The Southeast caucus that brought Ude Okoye, they were just doing that out of being emotional.
There's no emotion.
There's no emotion in this matter.
I mean, this internal, protest, what does this say about the state of unity and morale?
No, it shows that
within the party.
It shows that they don't have a party. There's no discipline in the party.
No discipline.
If for example, if people work in the party secretariat can work out on the national secretary, who is the person running the secretariat?
Exactly.
Is the head of the secretariat.
Exactly.
Is the one running the secretariat, not the chairman of the party.
Exactly.
So if they can work on, how do you now discipline every members in different states? That's the problem they have. There is no correction, no party discipline. Nobody is in charge. Nobody is in charge because they have an acting chairman, the national secretary. Nobody is sure whether it's Okoye or whether it's Anyanwu. So, and they have that problems like that. And if a lot of people, even the leading lights that within the party, are already making efforts to start another party, to move to another party. Apart from the fact that, because for the first time we are seeing governors, they camping from a political party.
Exactly.
When governors start leaving a political party, they are sending, because
it says a lot. It's a strong signal.
Yes, exactly.
It's a strong signal that this party is gone. So even their candidate is looking for another platform to run, and even the coalition they are talking about, nobody's talking about PDP. It's not as if they want to say, PDP wants to reach out to other political parties for them to come together and all that. No, the coalition is outside PDP.
Outside PDP.
You remember even when the governors met, they were saying, no, they can't.
They are not going to merge.
They are not doing coalition. Let them come. Who is going to come to a house that is already scattered?
Now let's look at the other parts of this conversation. Let's talk about the meeting between, the PDP governors and INEC. I mean, why do you think the PDP governors need to meet with INEC at this time because of this matter? On this matter of the NEC meeting.
INEC has a guideline, and in their guideline, for you to have, to have a meeting, convention, congresses, even conference. You have to give 21-day notice.
Yes.
It's there in their guideline. And who signs? It's the National Secretary that will sign.
But I thought the Supreme Court has said they can do, when it comes to their internal issues, they can do.
No, you don't seem to understand. What the Supreme Court said is that it's political parties that can determine
their leadership.
Their leadership, those who run. But in political parties, there are guidelines.
Guidelines.
You have the NEC.
Yes.
You understand?
You have the NWC.
You have the NWC. You have the convention.
Yes.
The convention is the authority that gives all these other organs, NEC and NWC, the authority to do whatever they are doing.
Okay.
So it is the convention that can appoint, that can elect and remove people.
Remove people.
They've not done another convention.
Not done another one.
Yes, I think that one will be coming up November.
Yes, if you take any decision without the convention, it's null and void.
But they are going for NEC. Why should INEC be
because they have only the stipulated
listen,
time to
if
do
you
NEC.
if you want to go for NEC, you have to write.
Yeah, they said they've written to INEC.
Yes, but who signed? Who signed?
So what INEC is doing is legally binding.
Of course.
Yes, there are some things that you have to, there are some criteria you have to meet.
You have to meet
for you
them.
to be able to do your NEC. What INEC is telling them is that you have not met those conditions. And because of that, we are not going to recognize that NEC. We are not going to send people because they're supposed to send observers to monitor the meeting. And then I think one of the officials now said, whether INEC likes it or not, they will go ahead.
Yes, now that is not a measure. That is not
that
a
they are
measure,
going to go ahead without meeting.
Because I heard what Debo Ologunagba was saying about that we've written to INEC. It's just for courtesy.
That's why they told him. The chairman told him that nobody authorized him to say that. Because when you say that whether INEC likes it or not, you are going to have that meeting. You are just being. Let me not use that word. Okay, it is not. It's not appropriate for you to have said that because. Whether you like it or not, INEC so pretends political parties. So if they tell you that, look, you have not met certain criteria and because of that, we are not going to recognize what you want to do. You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing you can do. It's just like you want to do convention or you want to do primaries and all that. INEC has to be there to be able to confirm that what you are doing is authentic. If they are not there, you are wasting your time. You understand? It's just like political parties that the new party that they want that wants to do. INEC has to register them.
Of course.
No matter who you are, even let all the top guns in Nigeria, let them come together. They cannot register themselves.
Exactly.
You have to go to INEC to say, oh, this is our new political association, and there are guidelines that INEC will follow.
So you think if they go ahead, because they are insisting that they will go ahead with their you think everything they do there will end up in a nullity?
I think if they go ahead and get all and arrange who is going to cook the rice and produce the they just want to give some people money.
They just want to congregate. They just want to congregate and entertain themselves.
See, my own is
without the INEC seal.
Why is it difficult for PDP to just say, okay, Sam Ayawu, go ahead and be the national secretary? Why? Is it because of Wike?
Then give the necessary notice to say that, look, INEC, we want to do this at this time. And they get their approval and they are ready and they go to do that.
And will Sam Ayawu be willing to sign?
Why not?
Will he?
Why not? His office is he not the one that wanted to go to the office and then they walked out? Who is he going to work with? Why can't he just work with him and then so that he will just run his course when he gets to the convention?
I can't understand.
I just don't understand why he can't.
You see, the problem with PDP is that they will sit, they will go on television, they will do interviews, and they will say, oh, APC is not delivering the dividends of democracy.
This government
is just doing this and doing that and all that. But they cannot put their own house in order. The basic things of running a party, they just can't do that. When there are you see, in political parties, there will always be disagreements. Where you have people congregate, there must be disagreement.
Even as a WhatsApp admin,
you have to send a WhatsApp group. You have to disagreement. So, what wants to the kind of leadership that you have is your ability to resolve disagreement.
Conflict resolution.
So, if you cannot, all this while they cannot resolve the problem they have there, Wike has divided the party down the middle, and they don't seem to even know what to do to solve the problem.
How to solve the problem.
You will see that some people will say, okay, want to do that. They will go and decide that they are going to take a decision. And some people will remind them that this decision that you want to take, we'll go to court, and then you realize that we'll ready to.
Exactly.
They will do that. Then the governors forum will want to come and try to do something.
Yes.
The governor forum will say, no, we are not part of that. What the governors forum is doing now is just to meet INEC, to do what is expected of them. And is that, why is it that INEC doesn't want to recognize this NEC that we want to do? INEC will be able to tell them, these are the processes that you need to follow for us to recognize this. And then if they know what they are doing, they will come back home and put those processes in place.
Talking about the PDP governors, still meeting with INEC, does this signal that the PDP governors want to take, is a signal that they are taking decision for the party?
Yes, if you notice, most of the PDP governors, some of them are even living maybe in 2027. So they will also want to be national leaders. So the best thing is, let's see how we can salvage the situation. Let's see how we can, keep this political
Every one of
party.
them wants to run for president.
Yes,
The
one of them
wants to run for president.
We need a platform
Exactly.
to run for president, because you can't go and start forming another political party. Because it's not easy. It's not a tea party for you to start a political party from
I mean,
scratch.
just like...
So what the governors are trying to do is, let's approach INEC. Let's talk to them. What are the guidelines? We'll go back home and see if we can, arrange and make sure that we follow those guidelines to the letter. And at the end of the day, if they need to have reconciliation, because they have even created so many reconciliations.
No, they said that. That's why they created the
Saraki
committee. Yes.
So if they get to that point, they reconcile. But I know the last time Wike was saying something about insisting that Hangout has to be secretary. To me, I don't know what is wrong with
And he has even pulled out of all the agreements that he has pulled out.
But he's on the right side of the law.
Yeah.
Whether you like what Wike is doing or not,
He's saying the right thing.
side of the law.
Even though I might not like the way he's always shouting.
But he's saying the truth. He's saying
allow him, give him, okay, you want Hangout.
The guy is a smart politician. Whether you like Wike or not, it's a smart politician because he has been able to hold PDP by the jugular, that they could not even do anything to him.
And they can't do anything.
They know that he's frolicking with APC, and they know that he's more or less like an APC person.
Exactly.
But he still controls PDP.
The PDP.
And there's nothing they can do to him. They know that if they take any decision,
and he has major supporters, even in the PDP.
Of course.
Even some governors.
Even the acting chairman is his person. That one just left his camp now trying to romance the governors.
Okay, now, but just like what I asked Mayor, for political watchers now, what message does this public tension, send to PDP supporters, their potential voters, in terms of is it stability or division? What message? This public tension in the PDP.
They are just showing the Nigerians that they are very, very unstable. You understand? And the earlier they resolve this matter and put their house in order, the better for them. Because Nigerians, we are seeing PDP as a credible opposition to the APC.
Okay.
And in fact, I, for one, because of democracy, we need an opposition party.
An opposition.
That will put this government in check.
Yeah.
You understand? So the PDP, they have members everywhere in Nigeria.
True.
Everywhere in
The
Nigeria.
structure is there.
It used to be the ruling party.
The ruling party.
Yeah.
They have lost Delta. They have lost my state, Akwa Ibom. For my state, I know how they respect and they worship PDP. But now they have gone to APC. You understand? So it means that they have lost two major states.
Exactly.
And it will take time for this state to go back to...
And those states are the heavy hitters.
They lost Cross River.
They lost Cross River.
Cross River used to be a PDP
state.
Yeah.
So now they have to put their house in order. And if they don't, another political party from somewhere will just come and then, take their slot.
Now,
they have to put their house in order.
We have just 2 more
to
minutes,
begin to
okay?
look at
Now,
them.
to round off this conversation, do you think the PDP will be able to pick up the pieces before 2027?
Nobody, we don't know, because you see, 24 hours is a long time in politics.
Sure.
Because they don't seem to in quote, know what they are doing now does not mean things will change. Things will not change. Politics is very fluid and dynamic. But the way I'm looking at them, I don't see them being the kind of strong force they ought to be or they will want to be come 2027. Because the division is so deep-rooted that it will take a long time to be able to do it. And people are abandoning ship.
And there are deeper issues.
Even the leading lies in those ones, even the articles on all them, they are already looking forward to another party.
Another ship.
They are looking forward to another party. So when you look at eventually, they will end up being, yes, an opposition party, but a weak one. In fact, I see the so-called coalition being stronger than PDP. Yes.
Oh, that will be
so
a very serious
like
one.
I said, 24 hours is a long time in politics. They may put their house together. Circumstances could happen. Economy could get worse. Or people could make complaints and people may want to look forward to another platform. So different
what
things
they just
happen.
need is...
Just in 30 seconds.
Yes. What they need is a leader. Somebody that would... Because all of them want to be presidents.
Yeah, the
So
ego
that
is there.
a major problem that they are having.
Yeah.
So they need to keep their egos down, their ambitions down, and then find somebody who everybody can look out to.
I mean, BK will say, ego as big as an elephant. Elephant ego. But anyway, Mayor Akinkwele, thank you so much for having this conversation with us. Asuko, I appreciate your ways, okay? And that's all on Journalist Hangout today. Yes, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Benga Oreshegun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Breaking news stories, trending stories, business news, stock exchange, and what have you. But with TVC News on WhatsApp, I'm able to catch up with all the breaking news, real-time updates, and trending stories on the go, right on my phone, no matter where I am. It's quick, easy, and always on. And hey, you can join us by scanning the QR code or using the link on our X and Instagram. Why wait? Come to the side of news that keeps you ahead. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia, January 15, 1929. The son of a Baptist minister, King received a doctorate degree in theology and in 1955 helped organize the first major protest of the African-American civil rights movement, the successful Montgomery bus boycott. King participated in and led marches for the right to vote, desegregation, labor rights, and other civil rights. He advocated civil disobedience and nonviolent opposition against segregation in the South, influenced by Mahatma Gandhi. The peaceful protests he led throughout the American South were often met with violence. Nonetheless, Dr. King and his supporters were persistent and the movement gained momentum. Dr. King was a powerful orator. He appealed to Christian and American ideals and won growing support from the federal government and Northern White. In 1963, Bayard Rustin and A. Philip Randolph led the massive march on Washington for jobs and freedom. The event's grand finale was King's famous I Have a Dream speech. 250,000 people gathered outside the Lincoln Memorial to hear the stirring speech. In 1964, the civil rights movement achieved two of its greatest successes: the ratification of the 24th Amendment, which abolished the poll tax, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibited racial discrimination in employment and education and outlawed racial segregation in public facilities. In the same year, King became the youngest person to win the Nobel Peace Prize. In the late 1960s, King openly criticized U.S. involvement in Vietnam and turned his efforts to winning economic rights for poor Americans. He was a leader of the American Civil Rights Movement and organized a number of peaceful protests as head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, including the March on Washington in 1963. He was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee on April 4th, 1968.
The Inspector General of Police has met with senior officers to review the state of security.
We are continuing our coverage.
What I will never take is threat.
Let's now bring you more development from Ibadan, the your state capital, where an explosion has taken place. Tell us about this incident.
TVC News. First with breaking news. At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 on
Tonight on Beyond the Headlines, we connect the global with the local and the past with the present. As tensions rise in the Middle East and the United States issues a fresh security advisory on Abuja, questions are mounting about Nigeria's internal preparedness and ECOWAS's regional resilience. What should we really be paying attention to, and what are the silent risks we may be ignoring? Then we turn to a political flashpoint shaking up the legacy of Nigeria's democratic journey. Former Governor Sule Lamido alleges that President Tinubu was never a part of the early June 12 resistance and that he even supported its annulment. Is this a political swipe or a challenge to the dominant version of history? We'll find out in the course of the show today. But let's begin with the latter. Just days ago, the United States mission in Nigeria issued a security advisory warning its personnel and citizens to avoid military and government facilities in Abuja, citing increased global security concerns. This move has now sparked widespread discussion and some anxiety, even as Nigeria's federal government insists that the capital remains safe and secure. But this alert didn't emerge in a vacuum. It comes amid heightened tensions in the Middle East, with U.S. strikes in Iran, Israeli military activity intensifying, and a broader fear of escalation. Already, the U.S. State Department has issued a worldwide caution for its citizens, citing risks tied to protests, reprisals, and geopolitical fallout. In this global mix, West Africa, particularly Nigeria and ECOWAS, cannot afford to be caught off guard. So how do these unfolding global dynamics affect our national security, add to that our diplomatic posture, and indeed the regional bloc's fragile stability in West Africa? Let's bring in Bayo Oluwake, a seasoned global affairs analyst and strategic risk advisor with years of experience providing geopolitical intelligence to corporate clients and state actors. He helps us decode what's really behind the headlines and what Nigeria must be paying attention to next. Mr. Oluwake, thank you for joining us on the program this evening.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's begin with the big story. How do you interpret the U.S. advisory on Abuja? Is it simply precautionary, or does it hint at broader geopolitical red flags that Nigeria should be taken more seriously now?
Thank you. Well, from the way I assess the security advisory, it looks like it's actually focused on American citizens who are either visiting or are resident in Nigeria. And it has to do specifically with the action the United States has taken in the conflict between Israel and Iran, and the expectation or suspicion that there could be fallouts from that action, which might possibly target U.S. citizens in different parts of the world. Because if you do an analysis of that statement, it has actually nothing to do precisely with Nigerians. It specifically addresses U.S. citizens, But it's quite curious also in one respect, which is that it says, while it advises US citizens to avoid military and government facilities, nonetheless, it says they can go only for official reasons. And so you begin to wonder if US citizens visit government facilities or military locations in Nigeria for social reasons. I mean, whenever they have to go to these places, it's usually in connection with official visits. So when it excludes official visits, I think that makes a nonsense of the security advisory itself. But broadly speaking, it has nothing to do with Nigerians, although it suggests as if Abuja is not safe, which is unfortunate because it essentially is trying to safeguard US citizens from possible fallouts of American intervention in the Iranian-Israeli conflict.
And we've heard from the federal government strongly dismissing this advisory, assuring citizens and foreign missions that Abuja remains safe. But in your view, does this pushback from Nigeria demonstrate confidence in our security architecture, or are we underestimating evolving threats?
Well, frankly, I think we can see this from two perspectives. Our security challenges have had to do with non-state armed groups operating in the Northeast and remnants of or groups similar to them operating in the Northwest and in the central regions of the country. So far, Abuja has been quite secure and immune from any large-scale or any definitive threats from these groups. It suggests that perhaps Abuja is unsafe. I mean, a lot of events have been held, international and domestic. People have come and gone safely. So to a large and reasonable extent, I think Abuja is safe, and is not in any way negatively impacted by that statement. But I can understand the reaction of the federal government because people who are not familiar with Abuja or the socio-economic and security climate of the city, hearing the U.S. statement or reading the U.S. statement is not safe.
And that's the concern for government as well, and perhaps the reason why it's come out to say, you know what, Abuja remains one of the safest capitals of the world. The U.S. advisory was issued within the same 48 hours as the State Department's worldwide caution, apparently tied to the Israel-Iran conflict. How might the ripple effects of the Middle East crisis manifest in West Africa, especially in terms of extremist mobilization, issues of diplomatic alignments, or even cyber or propaganda warfare?
Not just Nigeria, but African states have responded to the conflict between Iran and Israel in a very
We're having problems staying connected with Mr. Oluwake. We probably will take a short break, fix that connection, and return to this conversation.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I am sure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
You're watching Beyond the Headlines. Global Affairs Analyst Bayolo Ake, thank you so much for staying the course on the program this hour. You were talking about the ripple effect of the Middle East crisis on the sub-region. You can take it up from there.
Yes, absolutely. I was saying that the major actors themselves recognize that this is not a conflict that should be allowed to fester. You would notice that, of course, the U.S. made some strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites and immediately also declared, rather interestingly, that it wasn't a party to the conflict. And today we started hearing of a ceasefire that had apparently been negotiated by President Trump. The truth is that the protagonists are extremely well armed. And not only are they well armed, they are also extremely well connected within the international system, to the effect that they could easily draw in states on either side of the conflict. And we are beginning to see coalitions beginning to build and form around Israel and Iran. So it was good news to hear that some sort of ceasefire was already being contemplated, because this is not a conflict that should be allowed to either continue or to expand. To that extent, I feel that this is reassuring. I also do not think that Israel and Iran can endure extensive armed conflict. Their economies cannot sustain such conflict, especially Israel, that has been at war with several theaters in the last couple of months. So with regard to how this could impact us in West Africa, I think essentially it could be in the area, for instance, of our own attempts to deal with insurgencies and terrorism, which is plaguing the Sahel and the Lake Chad regions. Recall that most of the systems, the equipments and the devices that we are acquiring or have acquired to be able to respond to these threats either come from Russia or China or the United States or Israel. So if there's a major conflict, these powers are likely to ignore our own part of the world and to focus on what is unfolding in the Middle East. And that could have implications for our own ability, to deal with the threats we face, either in terms of acquiring new platforms or sourcing spare parts and equipment for existing systems that we have acquired. Yeah. There's also the risk that if it continues, it might suck us as well into the conflict, by way of some countries in Africa or our region providing support, diplomatic or otherwise, for the protagonists. So these are two very clear ways, in which a continuation of this conflict could negatively impact our sub-region and, in fact, our continent. So one would hope and expect that the two protagonists will come to an agreement, will start taking steps to diffuse the tension and to cease fire.
Absolutely. It's just that following, President Trump's assurance of a permanent peace deal, there have been reported attacks on both sides, and even the U.S. president himself has shown some frustration in that regard. We have to go now, but there are a lot of talk about the fragile security landscape across the Sahel. In a minute, if you can, explore for us whether or not you see this further weakening West Africa's already fragile peace efforts, where you consider the issue with Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and the struggle of the regional authority itself.
There's a risk that could happen. And if I quickly use the example of Russia and Ukraine, you remember that some months ago, the Ukrainians even publicly announced that they were part of an ambush against Malian forces and the Africa Corps, which is the successor body to PMC Wagner, in an encounter that took place on the borders with Algeria. Ukraine decided to go after Russia in other parts of the world as a consequence of the war which is going on between her and Russia. So if we see this kind of tendency on the part of the two protagonists, they might want to exploit our own context, to deal a blow to their adversary within this region. And this is why one would hope, like I said before, that this conflict comes to an immediate halt and that steps be taken to ensure lasting resolution. Because the ceasefire which has been arranged is simply because the interest of the U.S., you remember U.S. base in Qatar was threatened. That's right. And then, of course, Israel. This just cannot continue. And the powers recognize that. So they're just trying to put a stop to this. But in the deal that has been worked out, we haven't seen anything concrete to suggest that a permanent resolution of the conflict is being addressed. They just want a temporary ceasefire.
Good place to leave it. Thank you so much for your contribution, Mr. Bayo Oluwake, on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's turn our attention now to the legacy of June 12, which is once again under scrutiny following former Governor Lamido's claim that President Tinubu supported the annulment of the 1993 election. The presidency, of course, has fired back, calling it a distortion of history. In a detailed rebuttal, presidential advisor Bayo Onanuga insists President Tinubu condemned the annulment even before Abacha's coup and dismissed claims that his mother mobilized support for the military. So what's the truth behind this heated historical dispute? Let's bring in OSAD director, veteran journalist, constitutional lawyer, and a man who himself paid the price for democracy under the Abacha regime to help us separate fact from fiction. Thanks for joining us on the program this evening. We have just about 10 minutes, but let's start with the controversy. As someone who lived and fought through the June 12 era, how do you react to this development? Was Bola Tinubu a key player in the early days of the pro-democracy resistance, or do Lamido's claims carry any weight?
Frankly speaking, it will amount to falsification of history and a distortion of the immutable facts of history to state that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not contribute to fight for the annulment of June 12, or did not contribute to the struggle for democracy that started after the annulment of June 12, 1992 presidential election, which was widely acclaimed to have been won by Chief MQ Abiola. I've always told a lot of my colleagues that these are part of the challenges I have with elite politics in Nigeria. Our political elites tend to approximate the emotion of the president to distort historical facts. For the fact that you would disagree with the way and manner President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is running the country right now, it's not an excuse to wish away his democratic credentials and his contribution under the in the period under reference. So I would say, frankly speaking, that that is not true. President Bola Tinubu was a frontline member of the National Democratic Coalition, and even before then, as a reporter for one of the pro-democracy magazines, that's Tell magazine, I had the opportunity to occasionally report the National Assembly from Abuja. If you will recall, then self-styled military president Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, famously known as IBB, embarked on a convoluted transition program and was unwilling to hand over power, which made pro-democracy magazines like Tell, The News, and Temple to start screaming from the rooftop that this man is intent on not leaving or handing over power to a civilian regime. And in the process, he put in what you can call a diarchical arrangement, where you have civilian governors and you have a National Assembly. The National Assembly was sworn in on November 14, 1992, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a senator representing Lagos State. I vividly recall one particular incident that after the annulment of June 12, the Senate was sharply divided between pro-democracy forces and military apologists. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu was one of the pro-democracy forces. And the then Senate President, Iyorchia Ayu, was on the part of the pro-democracy forces. I remember this particular debate on the floor of the House that Bola Tinubu was so emotional that he almost physically attacked. And the man who later became governor of Borno State, Ali Modu Sheriff, who was on the other side, that they cannot and they should not remove or impeach Iyorchia Ayu as Senate President. Of course, finally, they did, and Ahmed Bute was sworn in as Senate President. So I'm saying that even before Nandeko coalition came into existence, when the June 12 was immediately annulled, and when the National Assembly was still in place, Bola Ahmed Tinubu showed those flashes and effusions of a Democrat by insisting that we must ensure that June 12 is de-annulled.
For the former governor, Sule Lamido, he did suggest that many of the prominent Nadeko figures only emerged after Abacha took over. So, in your recollection, how did the resistance evolve from June 12 through the Babangida transition and into the Abacha years? And who, in your opinion, were the real frontliners at each stage?
Yeah, to a large extent, he has some, there's a lot of truth in what he said in that regard. And that was because some of the Nigerian political elites were still believing, an average politician is always hopeful. They were thinking Babangida would truly hand over power. So the majority of those who resisted Babangida and saw through the smoke screen from the beginning were mainly the pro-democracy media organizations. Tell Magazine, The News, Tempo, then Punch, and The Guardian. And they suffered severe consequences for it. And you also have the brilliant and dogged members of the civil society. People like Olisa Agbakoba, Chief Gani Fawemi, Bekor and Sonkuti, and young talks like Sylvester Dion Haine, Kimo Bani, Bamdele Aturu, Richard Akiola, and the rest. So I would say that initially, the coalition that fought and resisted military rule were not the politicians. We have to be fair. They were the students. The student then, National Association of Nigerian Students was very vibrant, where you have young men then like Mahmoud Aminu, the president of NANS. They were sentenced to jail multiple times for resisting the military, for even resisting the structural adjustment program. So I would say conclusively, and without fear of equivocation, that it was the students, the civil society, and the pro-democracy media organization that I earlier highlighted that formed the bulk of resistance, the bulwark to military rule. It was really after the annulment of the election that the politicians, their eye became open and clear that yes, truly and truly, what these young men in the media and civil society have been saying is true.
Absolutely.
Then they now decided to form an umbrella body. That's why it was named National Democratic Coalition, NADECO, so as to pilot and drive the process of terminating military rule.
I hear you clearly, Mr. Director, but there's a deeper issue here beyond President Tinubu. Are you concerned that Nigeria's democratic history is being politicized or even rewritten by those in power today? How do we guard against that kind of historical revisionism?
Yes, I am very, very and deeply worried. And that's why I've told most of my colleagues who participated in that era that we can't be alive and allow revisionists to rewrite our history for us, and that every one of us who played a role then should put pen on paper and also state the role you played. I want to say without any iota of doubt that I was lucky to have been at the center of the struggle for democracy as a journalist then. There is no Nigerian journalist that interviewed and interacted with Nadeco abroad more than I did. I practically interviewed every member, interacted with every member of the National Democratic Coalition who were in exile in the United States and United Kingdom, from Chief Anthony Nahoro to Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu as he then was, to General Ani Akirande, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Chief John Odige Oyegun, and my main man, Senator Tokunbo Afikuyomi. And they were even joined by young Nigerian professionals who were already based abroad. People like Professor Chidi Odinkalu, Kayode Fayemi, Ike Okonta, who was initially in the news and now went abroad. People like the late Oronto Douglas, So I am in a position to be concerned, and I'm also in a position to say I can identify at least 80% of the young men and women and even the elders who participated in that democratic era. I remember that I interviewed Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as he then was, in the United Kingdom in April 1996. When I was coming back to Nigeria, I was arrested along the Nadeco route, and I was detained for about 5 hours. I had to buy my way out with all the foreign currency I had. So in 1997, when I got back to UK, they said Bola Tinubu had relocated to US. I went to the US, and on the 29th of May, because it was my birthday, 1997, I interviewed Bola Tinubu again in his house in Bowie, Maryland. And we published that article in Tel, where he said, Abacha told me he voted for MKO Abiola. So we know those who participated in the struggle
Mr. Director,
for democracy.
you are a national treasure yourself. I mean, we have to keep this conversation going. We are lucky to still have you, and of course we're going to find time to continue this conversation so that we can separate fact from fiction and also get the narrative right. But we're completely out of time now, but be sure that this is a conversation we have to keep having. Veteran journalist and constitution lawyer, also director, thank you so much for joining us on Beyond the Headlines. And that's our show today, everyone. You can watch it again at midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.
Decades, the Bank of Industry, BOI, has been driving Nigeria's industrial development through financial and business support services.
Bank of Industry is one organization that has kept their words with the Nigerian.
9:30 p.m. on TVC News.
Every second, every minute, every hour, and every day, time doesn't just tick away. It's a countdown to political decisions that shape our world.
This country must move.
Imagine the impact these decisions have on our lives. Some are consequential, others may leave us intrigued or baffled.
You will have no better friend and partner than Nigeria.
Step in and feel the frenzy like never before. Join me every weekday for an hour of fact-finding interviews where questions cut to the core.
How would you say your administration has fared in these sectors?
I will dig in to get to the heart of issues, from local politics to global insight. Join me as I unearth the power plays, jaw-dropping revelations, and the unfiltered truth. This isn't just politics, it's unraveling the stories that matter. Brace yourself for Politics Tonight every weekday at 8 p.m, where every decision echoes along the corridors of our lives. Politics Tonight, only on TVC News.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabs.
Hello and welcome to another fascinating episode of Customs Duty, brought to you by the Nigeria Customs Service. In this week's package, National Security Advisor hosts Honors Comptroller General of Customs, Director General NAFDAC and Chairman MDLEA. Comptroller General of Customs rejigs Operation Wild Wing, task officers on integrity and dedication. Other reports about the service's activities will also come your way, including the regular Customs Hub segment where we get you informed on issues that relate to import and excise duty collection. Thank you for joining us. I am Hafsat Oreme Ibrahim.
Mangroves act as natural barriers, protecting shorelines from erosion, storm surges and floods. Their dense root systems trap sediments and reduce the impact of waves, which helps to stabilize the coastlines. In this episode of Green Angle, we get to explore the threats to this ecosystem and how it can be protected. There's some more coming up after some news updates.
Just last week, the state announced it will begin full enforcement of the ban after 18 months of consultations with marketers and producers of single-use plastics. This latest summit brought together students from tertiary institutions across Lagos, engaging them in a lively debate on the pros and cons of banning single-use plastics.
Plastic drive our informal economy. Every corner of Lagos tells the story of survival. Every corner of Lagos tells the story of hustle. And in all the story, plastic plays a part. From Yashaniwa Lama that sells at the junction, to the pocket that sells soya every night, to the fish seller that sells frozen food, to the hawkers. These people rely heavily on plastic to keep their business going. So tell me, how do you tell a woman who even barely earns 3,000 naira a day to start using expensive paper, glasses, or so-called eco-friendly?
In today's debate, opposition will suggest that we explore recycling
as we have a lot of recycling organizations currently in Nigeria. But let us remind them that less than 12% of the tons of plastic produced annually is capable of being recycled. The market is very small, and if we choose to recycle and not transition, we're only bothering the market, and we're overwhelming them with work that they cannot handle.
For LASEPA, the summit is more than a talk shop, but a strategic effort to educate the public and encourage sustainable practices as part of a broader plan to achieve a cleaner and healthier Lagos.
Plastic material less than 40 micron is banned. So we need to use alternatives, thicker alternatives, right, to pack their products. Reusable alternatives, the tobacco bags that are stronger, that you can use more than once. If you cannot use nylon, then use paper. Enforcement is best managed when it goes alongside pari passu with advocacy. The advocacy is one of the legs of the advocacy is what we're doing today. So we think that engaging youth also helps you transmit this information to the community. It's a whole engagement line and network completely.
Whether it's through education, policy or action, the state says it is ready to turn the tide on plastic pollution. It was a day filled with fun and learning for children gathered at Lufasi Nature Park to mark this year's Children's Day celebration. Students from various schools across Lagos took part in march pasts, painting competitions and poetry performances.
I can't think of anything more beautiful than nature. I only think about its beauty. It gives us many things, but we give back with destruction. Beautiful is the planet I live in. There is beauty and harmony in nature.
So let's work as one for the earth we love. We've just begun to care, to share, to preserve with might, for a brighter world shining so bright. Thank you.
We've created a team for the competition. The children are meant to portray the designs, interpreting harmony with nature and sustainable development. So if you go around, we have different schools represented, one child per school, and they've been able to interpret what they think about the theme of the topic of the day.
Hopefully, the children are going to gain more experience and know more about what nature is all about, the wonders of nature.
Beyond the fun, the event also served as a platform for raising awareness about the environment. Environmental advocate Desmond Maje-Kudumi used the occasion to speak on recent flooding in parts of Lagos and other coastal cities.
Lagos is very, very vulnerable because it's so low lying, and we have to stop all this sand filling of all the wet land areas. They have a far more important role to play for nature than just providing a place where we can put luxury houses and so on. It's far more important to protect our life support system than to build a house that eventually will go under flooding.
He called for collective action and long-term commitment to ensure the younger generation inherits a safer, more sustainable environment.
This is the Lagos coastline. Lagos, the most populous city in Africa with over 22 million people, is also one of the fastest growing cities in the world. It is home to hundreds of coastal communities that rely almost entirely on aquatic habitats for their livelihoods. One crucial yet often neglected and destroyed ecosystem is the mangroves, which are also a super solution in the fight against climate change. Mangroves and wetlands are invaluable for carbon sequestration or uptake and storage of carbon, rainwater drainage and purification, biodiversity habitats, breeding grounds and supporting fishing communities. However, these vital ecosystems are being damaged at an alarming rate in Lagos, with potentially catastrophic consequences if this continues. Lagos, Nigeria boasts the largest lagoon along the West African coast. The coastal waters of southwestern Nigeria include a complex system of lagoons fed by numerous large rivers and creeks. Lagoons are shallow bodies of water separated from the ocean by natural barriers like sandbars, barrier islands, or coral reefs. Lagoons foster productive ecosystems that provide a variety of natural functions, resources, and ecosystem services to the communities that surround them. The Lagos Lagoon is connected to the Atlantic Ocean and serves as a fertile ground for feeding, breeding, and nurturing a variety of aquatic organisms, with the mangroves at its heart.
Mangroves are more than just trees. They are vital ecosystems that protect coastlines, support fisheries, and serve as crucial carbon sinks. These remarkable forests also provide habitats for diverse marine life, help regulate water quality, and support local communities. I'm excited to explore the Ekpe mangrove in Lagos, a unique and fascinating ecosystem.
Mangroves, typically found in tropical regions, are a kind of forest populated with unique trees that thrive in saltwater environment. Their ability to withstand harsh marine conditions come from their salt-filtering roots and waterlogged, oxygen-poor soil. One of the benefits of mangroves is reducing coastal erosion. Their deep root systems act as natural barriers, anchoring the soil in place. This stabilizing effect slows down water and sediment movement, helping to mitigate the impact of rising sea levels and strong tides. Many marine species hatch and grow in mangroves, where the complex root systems offer protection for young fish and crustaceans from predators while providing a rich food supply. Mangroves are also crucial in the fight against climate change, serving as efficient carbon sinks that absorb and store significant amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, helping to mitigate global warming. The Ekpe mangrove is one of the most significant mangrove forests in Nigeria, with several communities in the Ekpe and Ibejuleki areas surrounding it. Although these areas still have some healthy and intact mangroves, they are gradually vanishing. Undoubtedly, the major livelihood and trade of coastal communities in Lagos is fishing, with Ekpe being a significant part of this industry.
I am standing right in the center of the bustling Ekpe fish market, considered the largest seafood market in Lagos and one of the top tourist attractions in Lagos State. This vibrant market offers an incredible array of fresh seafood with virtually every type of fish and aquatic wildlife species on display, including crocodiles.
Fish stocks at this market have been declining in recent years, likely due to overfishing, pollution, and the loss of mangroves. While multiple factors may be at play, experts stress that mangroves are crucial for sustaining healthy fish populations. There is a clear knowledge gap here. Many fishermen and fish traders are unaware of the crucial role mangroves play in providing habitat for fish and crustaceans, resources their communities rely on for food and livelihood.
Tẹ́lẹ̀ ń gbà yá àwọn bàbá wọn ní létí èbúté báwọn náà máa ń fi apẹ̀rẹ̀ kó ẹja sókè. Bọ̀ ń sìn kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́. A máa ṣe wàhálà ká tó gẹ̀ẹ́tì ẹ̀ sí.
This fisherman told me something really interesting when I asked if he knew what mangroves are and their importance to his work, even after I described them to him.
Òòṣà ni o. Ètè báyìí tó bá dá dúró sórí omi báyìí tó mi rán díẹ̀, òòṣà ni o. So wọ́n dẹ̀ no ní time tó máa ń bọ̀.
If their ancestors considered mangroves to be deities, why don't they protect them? This is a question they can't answer. Despite the importance of this fish market, fish traders and fishermen are not receiving the crucial information they need about this vital ecosystem.
Ààrẹ ẹja gan ní ọdún yìí púpọ̀ bíi last year 3 years ago ẹja pọ̀ gan pẹpẹ tí ọkọ̀ tó wà lébùtébò tóbi ńlá yẹn láti òkè dé sàlẹ̀ náà máa fi lóòdù ẹja tó ní kálukú máa lọ máa gbé tiẹ̀ nísìnyí ẹja ò tí ì jáde ẹja yìí máa wá pé pójò yẹn ò stop tójò yẹn bá rọ̀ ní nọ́mà tó kó ti rọ̀ láti fi last month ẹja yẹn máa pọ̀ gan ju táìmù yìí lọ.
Igi igbó tó wà ní ọ̀hún yẹn kò sí tó ń ṣe fẹ́ ja lómi
igi tá ń wò lẹ́yìn oko yìí kò sí ohun tó ń ṣe fún ẹja tó wà nínú omi igi ò mọ̀ nípa ẹja àwọn igi yẹn kàn wà ń bẹ̀ kò sí ohun tó ń ṣe pẹ̀lú ẹja tó wà nísàlẹ̀ odò.
Coastal communities have started disappearing as a result of the rising tide, with sea level exacerbating the situation from climate change. The mangroves are supposed to be the buffers for these conditions. So we have started seeing declining fish species in our waters, where the mangroves are the nursery grounds and the breeding grounds. They are the maternity wards and the creches and the nursery schools for coastal areas.
It's a common misconception, but marine biologists have discovered that many fish lay their eggs in mangroves, and without these vital habitats, some fish species could not survive.
Mangroves are very important, ecologically and economically. Ecologically because they are nature's stormwater surge protectors, storm protectors. You know, they buffer the coastline from storm surges. They are windbreakers. Apart from that, they are sediment accumulators, because as the water slows down, they allow for sedimentation acutely in coastal environments like Lagos or in the Niger Delta area of Lagos, Nigeria. But more importantly, they harbor a lot of fishes. So these are areas where you have a rich fish community, finfish and shellfishes.
When I arrived in Ibejuleki, I traveled by water for about 20 minutes to reach the Ibaloja community. The only way to get here is by boat or canoe. I spoke with Lasisi, the traditional head of this community.
Some fishermen doesn't know that if they encroach a mangrove, it's going to be a problem for them tomorrow for fishing. It's only what they want to get, like a money. They will be focused attention. Once the money finish, everything is died off.
There is no way you can go to a mangrove area and you'll be feeling it. There is no way. When you get there, you know that you are in a mangrove area. You feel relaxed and you relax yourself. But some people now, they just see it as it's not useful. Let us block it and let us do what we want to do it there. Let us do this, let us do that. We want to make it as an housing estate. It's not like that. This is what they are telling us, that these European people, if they see such thing, they will use that place as their area of revenue generation.
Mangroves are being destroyed to make way for housing, industry and infrastructure development.
Well, as somebody who was born and bred in Lagos over 74 years ago, one was able to see very clearly those areas that were swamp, that were semi-mangrove, are now being converted to urban development areas with a lot of sand filling, So the whole ecosystem, or at least a large part of that ecosystem, has been greatly impacted by the reclamation and the sand filling.
Land reclamation is the process of creating new land by filling in swamps, wetlands or coastal areas with sand and other materials. While developers call it reclaiming land, making it sound beneficial, it often means destroying vital ecosystems like mangroves. This process of land reclamation is called sand filling, and it involves dredging sand from the seabed and depositing it onto former mangrove swamps, replacing rich natural habitats with artificial land for construction and development. In this area of Ibejuleki, the mangroves have been completely cleared and dredging takes place every day. Fishermen like Salako now have to travel far to cast their nets to catch fish.
Fishes, they don't like all this noisy area. As this engine is sounding now, the fish will run away from here. They will go very far. The flooding affects during the rainy season. As at about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, that was last month, during the heavy rainfall. You know, it affects, that is rainfall, it affects most of the houses around, and water doesn't have way to flow into the lagoon. The dredging would not allow the water to flow because they block the water from flowing from the land into the river.
After about an hour of trying to catch some fish, Salako and I gave up. Where we are now standing used to be part of the lagoon.
Can't believe that I used to fish around here.
Around here, around where we are standing, we used to catch big fishes around here.
In Lagos, many mangroves have also been destroyed due to industrial activities, especially the construction of oil tank farms. This area was once entirely covered by mangroves, but they are gradually disappearing one by one.
Victoria Island was one of the first areas to really expand with the sand filling and the reclamation of the land that was there. And then this extended to other areas, you know, inland as well. There's a lot of mangrove areas. A lot of Lagos is mangrove because our socio-economic system, as worthy as it is geared towards very much of pursuit of material benefits, pursuit of profit. And the challenge is that the profit is now put ahead of the planet, ahead of the people's welfare.
This is an example of mangroves that's been recently destroyed. Some people cut down the mangroves for firewood.
It covers us and it provides so many things for us. So if it keeps, the destruction keeps on going, my fear is that maybe we might not even have a fish anymore. Yes, because anybody that want to buy fish or eat fish must go and buy, so there will not be fishing anymore. That's my fear.
So where are we now?
Ilashe, and Ilashe is the gateway to the mangrove forests. It is we are at the edge of what we propose to be the buffer zone for the mangrove to actually protect the mangroves of the Western Peninsula.
Ilashe is one of the coastal communities where Akin Disu, who is the founder of Right on the Beach initiative, is leading a project and empowering coastal communities to protect their mangroves.
Well, Ilashe is transitioning into tourist area, you know, and we're trying to steer it towards ecotourism, or at least steer this area towards ecotourism. I think there will be great opportunities. In the next generation, climate change and the issues surrounding it are going to be the largest employers in this area. You know, so it is very important to start educating the generation that is coming up. The most effective solutions to protect further mangrove destruction is to understand the value of the mangroves, to create a buffer zone
so that we can protect the mangrove forests of the Western Peninsula, create a buffer zone, and use that buffer zone to start educating the people on the importance of mangroves, while at the same time to start an organized reforestation program.
Akindisu is leading a mangrove reforestation project aimed at protecting shorelines and scaling up carbon sequestration by replanting mangroves. He and other NGOs in Lagos are also advocating for legal protection of the remaining mangroves in the state. Meanwhile, they are educating local communities about the importance of mangrove ecosystems and their role in climate change adaptation. Replanting mangrove seedlings is a key initiative in these communities, helping to restore mangroves and enhance coastal sustainability.
And the easiest way, nature has done everything when it comes to mangroves. You can see it's designed perfectly. It's actually designed, so this is a spike, and these are the roots, so it is from here it takes off. Really, to plant it, all you do is just stick it, literally stick it in the water like that, because that is naturally how it happens.
Conservation and environmental consciousness is not as it should be. So we have situations where we do not take the environment seriously, and then this gives negative result, deleterious effects to this community.
Curious to know the government efforts regarding the mangroves which are vanishing rapidly in the state, I met with the special advisor to the Lagos State Governor on the environment.
The state government is well aware of the issues, and we are pained. And I think we're having challenges from real estate world, and we're struggling because this is a world where people only value naira and kobo. So a lot of our wetland policies have been abused, contravened, and we're doing so much to recover the wet ground.
Research has shown that Lagos has lost 70 to 80% of its mangroves in the past 40 years. Is there even a mangrove protection law in Lagos State?
There is. We have those laws that protect mangrove.
It is really a clear and present danger. The urgency is immediate. That is because we have started seeing the fallout of not addressing the issues. Sea level rise has started in Lagos. We see it in coastal communities.
Mangrove loss is a global issue, with statistics indicating that these essential ecosystems are vanishing 3 to 5 times faster than global forest losses, resulting in major ecological and socioeconomic consequences. According to current estimates, global mangrove coverage has been reduced by half during the last 40 years.
If the destruction of mangroves continue at this rate, we'll have a number of issues that are already emerging. Flooding, food security issues, livelihoods destroyed, infrastructure destroyed, because when the flood comes, it collapses infrastructure and takes them up. And then sedimentation, irregular sedimentation, amongst other implications that can come from these ramifications. Mangroves are wonderful coastal ecosystems. They have more benefits ecologically. Man, in his quest to economically use the mangrove space, must be ecologically sensitive and balance this act, because conservation and sustainability is very important to protect the mangroves. If we protect the mangroves, we protect ourselves.
As the battle to save Lagos mangroves continues, the need for education and community involvement becomes increasingly urgent. Without immediate action, these vital ecosystems may vanish, taking with them the natural protections and livelihoods they provide. The future of Lagos coastline and the communities that depend on it hangs in the balance, and the effect of climate change may become worse.
And that's about it on this week's edition of the program. Until I come your way next time, remember, together we can build a sustainable world. I am Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Senate approves extension of capital component of the 2024 budget, reset its expiration to 31st of December 2025. House of Representatives to investigate the recent killing of 13 wedding guests in Mangu community, Plateau State. And outside Nigeria, U.S. President Donald Trump lashes out at Israel and Iran, accuses them of violating the ceasefire deal. Coming up in sports tonight, Wimbledon organizers to honor two-time champion Andy Murray with a statue at the All England Club. You're watching TVC News at 7. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Vice President Kashim Shettima says Nigeria and Brazil are united by a common heritage and shared purpose, as he officially opened the second session of the Nigeria-Brazil Strategic Dialogue in Abuja. He described the partnership between the two nations as a model for South-South cooperation, grounded in mutual respect and pragmatic ambition. Vice President Shettima also highlighted Nigeria's emerging demographic influence on the global stage. The Vice President emphasized that the Nigeria-Brazil Strategic Dialogue is not a ceremonial gathering, but a working platform built to drive implementation, collaboration, and tangible progress across key sectors. The Vice President of Brazil, Geraldo Alckmin, and his wife were received earlier by Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Adija, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Oduwole, Minister of Livestock Development, Idi Maya, and Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, as well as other senior Nigerian government officials. During the three-day summit, more than 30 memoranda of understanding will be signed across critical sectors. TVC State House correspondent Femi Akode joins me now for more on this development. Femi, the Vice President is speaking boldly about what this collaboration means for both countries. 30 memoranda of understanding to be signed. What more do we know?
Hi, Nathan. Well, indeed, it's a strategic alliance between Brazil and Nigeria. Already, the deal between the two countries, especially in the area of agriculture alone, is worth $1 billion. That is for agriculture alone. This is expected to improve the whole value chain around the agricultural sector, create more jobs, and also ensure that agriculture becomes the mainstay, not just for the federal government, but indeed for subnationals, especially that this investment trickles down to the rural farmers, especially in far-to-reach areas, ensure that everything they need, access to roads to move their goods from the farm to the market, and all the whole value chain in terms of storage and processing are provided for them. Also in livestock development, Brazil is seriously interested in helping Nigeria develop its livestock. And you know that the Ministry of Livestock Development is the newest ministry created by President Bola Tinubu's administration. They are already looking at how they can help in dairy production, processing of meat or beef, and other critical areas in this sector to grow the economy. The Vice President of Brazil also met with President Bola Tinubu, where he also pointed out the similarities between both countries, not just in terms of culture now. He's also talking about political similarities. Brazil is run by a progressive government, likewise Nigeria by a progressive political party. And he said all of these are what should bind the two countries together. President Bola Tinubu will be traveling to Brazil in about 2 weeks' time to continue talks. Already just today alone, 7 memorandum of understanding have been signed. We expect about 30 to be signed within a space of 3 days, and all of these will then be formalized, and all of these agreements will be fine-tuned when President Bola Tinubu travels to Brazil in 2 weeks' time. Nifemi.
These meetings have been well attended by high-profile cabinet members. The presidency is also prioritizing this collaboration. But is it clear as to the time frame within which Nigerians can begin to feel the benefit of all of these collaborations?
Well, already, according to the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, there is already about over $2 million investment from Brazil in Nigeria, following President Bola Tinubu's attendance or participation at the G20 summit, where he met with President Lula da Silva on the sidelines of that global event. And that's where this whole talks about strengthening cooperation and improving trade ties started. We have seen investors come in from Brazil to Nigeria, to states like Kebbi State. We have also seen states like Kaduna and Niger State also, make some outreach to some companies in Brazil, and they have been able to attract them to Nigeria. Some of them have already started work. Most of them have started building their plants, processing plant, or these particular investment in especially agriculture is already underway as we speak. Jobs are being created, but jobs are also already being created, and we hear from the minister that this is already worth more than $2 million and still counting, with believing that with further engagement, more monies in terms of foreign direct investment will be attracted to Nigeria. Femi
Akonde live for us in Abuja. Thank you for the updates there, Femi.
Thanks, Femi.
And moving on to the National Assembly, where the Senate today approved a bill to amend the 2024 Appropriation Act, extending the capital component of the budget from 30th of June to 31st of December 2025. And this is the second time the capital spending timeline is being extended, aimed at facilitating ongoing procurement processes and the completion of key capital projects. Lawmakers expressed concern over the persistent delays in capital budget implementation. They are asking the Committees on Finance and Appropriations to intensify oversight to ensure effective execution moving forward. To fast-track the process, the Senate suspended Rule 78, subsection 1, allowing for the first, second, and third readings of the bill all in one sitting. And the House of Representatives is set to investigate the recent killing of 13 wedding guests in Mangu, Plateau State. This comes as President Bola Tinubu declined the assent to the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Amendment Bill. Jakadisa has more.
The public outrage over the killing of some passengers in Mangu, Plateau State has not stopped since the unfortunate incident happened last week. Sadiq Abdullahi is from Kaduna State. He raised a matter of urgent public importance to condemn the killing of his kinsmen in Mangu, Plateau State. The lawmaker is not satisfied with the intervention of the Plateau State governor and wants a definite action taken to ensure justice is served. But the speaker acknowledged that some steps have been taken so far by the Plateau State government as he assures his colleagues the process of achieving justice has been put in motion.
Despite previous resolutions of this Honorable House and repeated assurances from security agencies, attacks of this nature continue unabated raising serious questions about the adequacy of security architecture and protection of lives and properties in Nigeria.
The House resolved to mandate its ad hoc committee on Plateau State crisis to probe the incident and submit its report in 14 days. Earlier, President Bola Tinubu, through a letter addressed to the Speaker, informed the House of his resolve to withhold assent to the National Assembly Library Trust Fund Amendment Bill.
Notwithstanding the laudable objectives of the legislation, certain provisions contained therein go against the settled law and policies of the federal government.
The Director General, National Health Insurance Scheme, will appear before the lawmakers to answer some pertinent questions as the House of Reps launches investigation into allegations of underperformance.
Despite the efforts of the government to adequately back NHIS, its funding is generally considered inadequate, and this causes delayed payments to healthcare providers such as the hospitals and clinics.
Nigeria's government party, APC, now has 2 additional members in the House of Representatives. The Speaker announced that Peter Akpanke of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and Paul Nnamchi of Labour Party have now pitched their camp with the APC, citing irreconcilable party differences as reasons for their defection. For the second time, the House of Representatives is seeking to amend the 2024 Appropriation Act to extend the capital components of the budget from June 30 to December 31. The bill passed second reading, and it is to be considered at the Committee of Supply at the next legislative dates. Joke Adsa, TVC News, Abuja.
Joke joins me now for more on this story. Let's begin with the withdrawal of assent for the National Assembly Library Trust Fund bill. Walk us through details as to why this was done and how the House of Assembly the House of Representatives has now responded.
Yes, thank you, Nifemi. What we saw today on the floor of the House is not something unusual. We have seen the President from time to time either assent or decline his assent over any bill brought to him. So this time there is we have the National Assembly Library Trust Fund, and what the Parliament is seeking to do is to update that act to ensure that, and basically what it hopes to achieve is to clearly define the Government Council of that fund, and to also widen the scope of the funding sources. But I think the details were not actually provided, but from the tone of that letter, of course, Mr. President is disposed to necessary amendments to the act, but is also disposed to signing this bill as soon as the right amendments are done, the corrections are made. So it's just about further strengthening the National Assembly Library Trust Fund and ensuring that the goal for which it was set up, of course, is achieved. Is about strengthening the nation's structures and also ensuring that the heritage is not lost, and it also develops enhanced reading ability and reading capacity of Nigerians, particularly lawmakers.
Joke, the House is also investigating the killing of about 13 wedding guests in Plateau. We've seen a lot of reactions from Kaduna, Plateau State. We had the Commissioner for Information on the News last night who confirmed that 22 persons have been arrested and that there seemed to be a coordination between both states in this regard. What is the scope of the House's investigation, especially considering committees of this like in the past?
Yes, what the House actually wants to do is to see that is also to contribute its own quota to this challenge at hand. If you look at now, the thrust of this probe will be to ensure that this particular axis where it has become notorious, like they have said, and that's often from time to time travelers are killed on that road, and so what they want is to put a stop to that. And more importantly for them is that those arrested are prosecuted and brought to justice. The belief is that if this is done, it will deter a further occurrence. So this is basically what this is about, to ensure that Nigerians are free to move to any part of the country that they wish to travel to, and to also ensure that citizens live in peace and harmony. The cited Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, as amended, of course, which trusts the security and welfare of the citizens on the government. So they are hoping that this time they will be able to put an end to things like this. Though there is also the fear of reprisals, looking at the fact that this thing happened between some indigenes of a particular state, and it happened in another state. So the House is also trying to ensure that there is no reprisal attack as far as this incident is concerned.
Jackie is live for us in Abuja. Thank you for the update. Coming up on the news this hour, People's Democratic Party leadership meets with the Independent National Electoral Commission to resolve the issue of the party's national secretary at the commission's headquarters in Abuja. We have that story and more coming up shortly.
Coleman wires and cable. Great quality. Now with the new look.
The Nigerian national flag represents our country's history, culture, and identity. It was designed in 1959. The colors are Emerald Green 2.0, which represents agriculture, and Immaculate White represents unity and peace. Know how to handle our flag. Illuminate the environment or don't fly the flag overnight. Do not fly a dirty or tattered flag. Take such flag to the nearest National Orientation Agency office for proper disposal and replacement. The national flag can only be flown at half-mast on the directive of the federal government. The national flag must be flown at the same or higher height when displayed alongside other flags. Don't burn or allow the national flag to fall on the ground. Do not print, decorate, modify, or insert the coat of arms on the flag. Our national heroes are not buried with the flag. They are honored by presenting it to their next of kin during internment. Respect our national flag. Be a real Nigerian.
This message was brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
You're watching TVC News at 7. A reminder of our top stories this hour. Senate approves extension of capital component of the 2024 budget, reset its expiration to 31st of December 2025. House of Representatives to investigate the recent killing of 13 wedding guests in Mango community in Plateau State. U.S. President Donald Trump lashes out at Israel and Iran, accuses them of violating the ceasefire deal. Still ahead in sports tonight, Wimbledon organizers to honor two-time champion Andy Murray with a statue at the All England Club. The Ondo State Security Network, codenamed Amotekun, has recorded another breakthrough in its fight against crime with the arrest of the suspected killer of Nelson Adekoige, a ward chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Osei local government area. Commander of the security outfit, Adetunji Adeleye, paraded the suspect alongside 31 others arrested for various criminal offenses across the state. Ayodeji Maradio has more.
Amotekun operatives have apprehended more than 450 suspects across Ondo State. According to the command, over 60% of those arrested were involved in kidnapping, while around 20% were linked to robbery and housebreaking. Now, the security outfit has made another breakthrough with the arrest of the man suspected to have murdered the All Progressives Congress APC World Chairman Lesson Adepoyigi. Mr. Adepoyigi was abducted from his residence in Ifon, Ose local government area. Despite a ransom payment of 5 million naira, he was killed by his captors.
On armed robbery,
Commander of Amotekun, Adetunji Adeleye, added that the remains of the slain politician has since been recovered and interred according to local customs and traditions.
Killer of the chairman of the ward chairman, Ward 6 in Ose, will face the full wrath of law once the court comes back to session.
The Amotekun commander also gave a further breakdown of the latest suspect arrested.
On armed robbery, we have 3, including one Michael, 23-year-old, who was arrested around Roscoe area in Odigo. There is also a Lawal, 37, arrested for forgery, false information, aiding and abetting robbery around the power line. There is this suspected cultist, dreaded cultist, and experts in dismantling vehicle parts.
The Amotekun commander said the command will continue to work with other security agencies in the state to rid the state of criminals. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Akure.
The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission has held a one-day roundtable engagement with attorneys general from Nigeria's North Central region. Ibrahim Alege reports.
The roundtable engagement brought together key legal minds, state attorneys general and other stakeholders to chart a new path in the fight against corruption. With the theme Strengthening Subnational Synergies for Corruption Prevention, the engagement emphasized prevention over punishment. The chairman of the ICPC, Dr. Musa Aliyu, said while enforcement remains crucial, stopping corruption before it starts is far more effective.
If you allow the corruption to happen, it will be difficult for you to cure. Especially there are a lot of issues around litigation, and we know how the judicial system in Nigeria is now. It is too slow because of many cases that happen in court. That's why we have this approach that let us prevent this thing from happening. If it happens, then we will now go for enforcement.
The chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau and the chief judge of Kwara State echoed the need for synergy between federal and state institutions to tackle systemic corruption.
It's better for us to collaborate. And one good thing about it is that all of us have specific functions to play in the fight against corruption. So there is no overlap between what we are doing and what ICPC is doing, what EFCC is doing.
It is only through our joint efforts that we can effectively implement the 5 pillars of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy.
For the National Assembly, no stone should be left unturned to strengthen the anti-corruption agencies in achieving their mandates.
If we hear from them and there's need to amend the ICPC Act or any other law to effectively help them to pursue justice in corruption matters, we'll do it.
And we're also working on, for example, the Poker Act and other relevant bills are in process in the National Assembly. This is to strengthen the fight against anti-corruption.
As Nigeria advances its anti-corruption efforts, engagements like these are positioning subnational actors not just as enforcers but as frontline defenders of integrity.
The roundtable engagement focused primarily on corruption prevention, a central message expected to resonate with the attorneys general who are the chief law officers in their respective states. Ibrahim Alege, TVC News, Ilorin.
The arrest of former top officials of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited over an alleged $7.2 billion refinery fraud is drawing sharp public reactions. Many Nigerians are calling for greater transparency and urging government to make NNPCL more transparent to serve Nigerians better. Helen Osamide Akins reports.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission confirmed the arrest of key figures, including Umar Issa, a former chief financial officer of NNPCL, and Jumo Olasukomi, a former managing director of the Warri refinery. The suspects are accused of authorizing the disbursement of billions of dollars for turnaround maintenance of the Kaduna, Warri and Port Harcourt refineries fund that reportedly yielded no visible results. The arrest is the outcome of the report by the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, chaired by Senator Aliyu Wadada, which highlighted disbursing discrepancies in NNPCL's financial statements amounting to over 210 trillion naira between 2017 and 2023. The development is already stirring heated public debates.
If you want to do a thorough job of NNPC, you don't go for the people that are asked to take decisions. You go for the one who gave the decision. We have a board in NNPC that was constituted. There are approval limits in NNPC charter. You can't have a CFO arrested without the GCEO. CFOs don't make approvals themselves.
Why don't they do this thing when these people were still serving? That is the right approach. If they can arrest them when they are still serving, it will even help to unravel so many things.
Not to arrest be the problem, but the action. Would the SEC take the action on the people they arrested? Would the SEC not compromise?
There are growing calls for the federal government to strengthen oversight on NNPCL.
Make NNPC a limited by liability company. Let it follow the agreements in the PIA. Get off government shares, dispose of government shares, put MOFI and MOPI shares into the public hands, dilute it possibly, improve new governance, and put new procurement processes in place.
They insist that the nation's premier oil company must be protected from corruption and run in a way that truly serves Nigerians.
As investigations continue, eyes will be on the EFCC, NNPC, the National Assembly and the Presidency, watching whether justice will truly be served, as the outcome of this investigation may also test the current administration resolve to curb corruption in the nation's most strategic industry. Helen Osamede Kings, TVC News, Abuja.
To some politics now, the acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Umar Damagun, and other stakeholders met behind closed doors with chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, at the commission's headquarters in Abuja. Senior political reporter Ademola Lawrence has more.
The high-level meeting was convened to address INEC's recent correspondence to the party ahead of the 100th National Executive Committee NEC meeting scheduled for June 30th, 2025. Leading the PDP delegation was acting chairman. He was accompanied by prominent party leaders from Zamfara State Governor, Bauchi State Governor, Plateau State Governor, and Oyo State Governor. INEC chairman reaffirmed Commission's commitment to engage the political parties as part of its regulatory responsibility.
And we look forward to this important clarification from the party as to who is the secretary. In the last couple of months, we received letters from the party saying that one Mr. Ude Okoye was the secretary. Thereafter, the party changed its mind and said it was Senator Anyang. Thereafter, the party changed its mind to say that it's Mr. Shokwedo. And again, the party changed its mind to say it's Anyang. And the last letter from the party actually has no secretary at all. It was only signed by the chairman, which we responded to. But we are here as the registrar and regulators of political parties.
In his remark, PDP acting chairman emphasized that the meeting was to deliberate on the issues surrounding the office of the party's national secretary.
We are here today, as you are aware, we have issues pertaining the status of our national secretary. We've gone into litigation, I think, from the beginning of last year, until when the Supreme Court, make a pronouncement of which INEC of the party.
Following the closed-door meeting session, the acting chairman told journalists that the outcome of the meeting will be communicated to party stakeholders across the state before any public disclosure is made. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Abuja.
We have more stories coming up shortly. Don't go away. The recent Delegate Congress election in the Federal Capital Territory has sparked the fire of a fresh controversy in the All Progressives Congress, with some natives of the FCT now claiming they have been systematically excluded from the electoral process. Minister of Special Duties and Inter-Government Affairs Zephaniah Jesalo, who is an FCT indigene, has blamed the national leadership of the party for its poor handling of the delegate list. Abdullah has more.
The Delegate Congress held last Saturday was to select representatives for upcoming primary elections of the APC in the FCT. However, members of the APC at this stakeholders meeting are unhappy over what they described as an orchestrated effort to marginalize indigenous voices in favor of external influence.
Let's tell ourselves the truth of the matter. I'm not the minister of FCT. The minister of FCT have the power because he is in charge of the security of this place. And he has several things in minister's speeches telling him that he should do well for the FCT. Now, other people have come in now, but National couldn't protect us because I need protection. They said I should cut the party as a leader. Most of the documents I've been signing on behalf of FCT is leader, FCT leader. But when you come for the issue of these elections, the minister, the national, which of course I have time to discuss with the national chairman.
What we are saying as a party, we have the candidates that are paid, even at the when they paid at the national, and that did not bother us. But the most important thing is that for us to choose our candidate, we must follow the due process. We must follow the due process. And that's why we call our leaders here, so that we can discuss where things are not properly done. We complain.
APC Zonal Secretary North Central Yakubu Adamu believe these developments could have long-term implications for the FCT's political landscape.
We did not say 100% there wasn't elections. There are elections in few places, and there are issues in some few places. These are issues we collated and we're harmonizing, and these are internal issues, and this is something that we do with the leadership of the party.
As tensions continue to heighten inside the APC, the outcome of the committee's investigation will be crucial in resolving the differences and ensuring equity, justice and fairness. They also have communicated these grievances to the national chairman of the APC, Abdullahi Ganduje. They have also expressed concern over the deep infiltration of non-members of the APC in the FCT who seem to have now hijacked the party structure in the FCT and dictating what happens next. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
News just in, 24 out of 26 members of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly have dumped the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. Udeme Otong, Speaker, reviewed the mass defection during plenary on Tuesday, confirming receipt of resignation letters from the lawmakers. The defectors cited ongoing internal crisis within the PDP's National Working Committee as reason for their decision. One of the two, Udoke Kwolfort of the Etina State constituency, is reportedly staying loyal to former Governor Udom Emmanuel. The other is Sunday Johnny of Ona constituency, who now becomes part of the minority PDP and has been removed as House Leader. Chief Whip Hefung Johnson of Umbo constituency has been named acting leader of the House pending the election of a new leader. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has attributed the success of recent infrastructural projects in Abuja to the support of President Bola Tinubu. Speaking on Tuesday during the inauguration of the newly constructed right-hand service carriageway in Abuja, the minister praised President Tinubu's leadership, stating that the visible transformation in the capital is a direct result of his commitment. He also thanked President Tinubu for his support, urging him to continue backing the projects.
Mr. President, I want to say thank you. We still will continue to pray that you continue to support us the way you have supported us. Do not relent, because we cannot do anything if you are not giving us any support. Monkey the job, monkey the job. Now because 3 near 3. Some of you may not understand that adage. When people say, we are doing well, it's because Mr. President is giving us support.
This vital carriageway we commissioned today is not just a road. It is a symbol of progress and a reflection of our administration's renewed hope agenda. An agenda committed to building infrastructure that serves the people.
The Ondo State government has officially launched the distribution of 165 fodder choppers to livestock farmers across the state. This initiative aims to enhance the quality of animal feed and significantly boost livestock production. Ayodeji Moradio has more.
In Nigeria is currently grappling with significant challenges as rising animal feed costs threaten productivity and sustainability. Feed accounts for nearly 70% of total production costs, making the issue critical. For instance, the cost of a ton of maize, which was approximately 90,000 naira in 2020, has now skyrocketed to over 450,000 naira. Similarly, soya beans have escalated to nearly 700,000 per ton. In response to these challenges, the Ondo State government is actively working to mitigate the rising cost of livestock feed. Distribution of these fodder choppers is part of the Livestock Project and Resilience Support Project, a collaborative effort between the State Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Governor Loke Aiyedatiwa, represented by his deputy Olaide Adelami, emphasized that this initiative is designed to address the persistent challenges facing livestock production in the state.
Through the support of the federal government and the World Bank under the Health Press project, as a state, we have continued to scale up our livestock transformation agenda. Aside today's distribution, we are also advancing in areas such as construction of livestock infrastructure and marketing hubs.
The state coordinator of the project, Olufemi Adiogun, highlighted that effective fodder management is critical for sustainable livestock production, especially given the unpredictable weather patterns.
Fodder management remains a critical component of sustainable livestock production, especially in the face of erratic weather patterns, prolonged dry spells, and land degradation.
The provision of these fodder choppers will greatly benefit our farmers by improving the digestibility of these fodders and year-round availability of fodder for their livestock.
Beneficiaries of the program are encouraged to make good use of this government initiative, which is aimed at enhancing livestock feed production and ensuring food security in the state. Ayodeji Moradeyo, TVC News, Akure.
You're watching TVC News at 7. Up next is Business News with Tululoko Gunjabi.
And in business news, the federal government has announced a revenue of 6.9 trillion naira generated between January and April 2025, representing a 40% increase compared to the same period the previous year. Helena Samede Kings reports.
Where no one is oppressed
It's the second Citizens and Stakeholders Engagement Forum for 2025, organized by the Ministry of Finance to review the implementation of presidential priorities and key deliverables for the second quarter of the year. At the forum, the Finance Minister gave a detailed overview of the current state of the Nigerian economy, noting a significant year-on-year improvement. He attributed the 40% revenue growth to ongoing reforms in the foreign exchange market and physical governance, along with the adoption of technology and automation to improve revenue collection across ministries, departments and agencies.
The external reserves have grown from what was a low of about $3 billion to over $23 billion. On the fiscal side as well, we have had in 2024 a huge increase in revenue from just above 12%, 12.5 trillion to 20 trillion naira.
However, he admitted that oil revenue is still underperforming due to the poor crude production and global oil price volatility.
Real GDP growth is on the right trajectory, but at 3.4%, even 3.8% is not enough to achieve in the nearest future a GDP growth rate on a sustainable basis of somewhere near 7% per annum. And why that figure? That would be more than double population growth.
Other departments under the ministry also presented their milestones and achievements during the engagements.
59 mortgages have been given to Nigerians, and the value of that is about 6.9 billion. But I do not think that there's a time in the history of this country when in less than 2 months, an institution, a plan, or a program disburses up to 6.9 billion in terms of mortgages to Nigerians.
The quarterly Citizens and Stakeholders Engagement serves as a platform for fostering transparency, encouraging citizen participation, and gathering feedback on government policies and programs. Helen Osamede-Akins, TVC News, Abuja.
The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC, has kicked off a nationwide tour aimed at promoting reforms that will enhance the ease of doing business initiative in the country. The tour began in Lagos, led by the Director General of the Council, Azaha Mustafa Audu, who is spearheading technical sessions and town hall engagements to deepen public understanding of government's business reform strategies. The engagements are designed to provide a platform for stakeholders, including entrepreneurs, investors, and business owners, to interact directly with government representatives, share practical experiences, and suggest reforms to improve the business environment.
To support Nigeria. We only have one country, and as long as you have a democratically elected president, whether you agree 100% or not, you should always push for what is best for the country by supporting it within your own capacity. I want you to tell us at the state level what is not quite working as well as what is working. I also want you to tell us at the federal level what we can do better. I want you to look at PEBEC and tell us what we are not doing right. So today is a day for us to critically look at the business climate, especially as it affects you in Lagos.
Today's town hall, without a doubt, is a space for dialogue and co-creation. It is a space where public servants listen and private actors speak truth to power. Whether you are a fintech pioneer working on digital payments, a cooperative managing pooled capital for agro-processing, or a manufacturer dealing with customs matters, we need your voice. These reforms are not abstract, they are deeply human, and we are committed to making them work for you.
The Western Marine Command of the Nigerian Customs Service says it is on a high alert to dismantle smuggling syndicates operating along the nation's waterway. Controller Patrick Ntadi stated this during a press briefing in Lagos, reaffirming the command's zero-tolerance policy against economic sabotage. TVC News senior business correspondent Ifunaya Eze reports.
At the Western Marine Command headquarters in Lagos, Controller Patrick Ntadi declared an intensified crackdown on maritime smuggling, reinforcing the command's commitment to border security and economic protection. Among recent seizures are over 2,000 bags of foreign parboiled rice, 481 loaves of cannabis sativa, bundles of textile, bags of sugar with a combined duty paid value of more than 352 million naira.
This was intercepted along Badagry axis by the operations. You know, we have headquarters operations over here, so there was an actionable intelligence. We had to send people down there, and then they got it. We had some from Badagry, some from Yakeme. There's an area we call Water Boss.
The cannabis sativa was handed over to the NDLEA for further action.
There's no room for water smuggling. Actually, my mandate is to make sure I reduce it to the barest minimum. If, like I said, if you know the insecurity now, the challenges, some of them, it can't just be only road. Drugs too, especially. If you know the effect of drugs on our children, you will know that it's something we all have that responsibility to stop it. We are definitely going to work hard on it. My mandate is to make sure I reduce smuggling to the barest minimum.
I have gotten this seizure, and I will ensure that I conduct some investigation and take the exhibits too for safekeeping.
Also seized were 9 locally constructed boats used in smuggling operations. Comptroller Ntadi attributed the success to improved surveillance, intelligence sharing and strategic collaboration with other agencies, while expressing appreciation to the Comptroller General of Customs, Adewale Adeniyi, for strategic support and logistics. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Lagos.
Oh, we'll take a break now, and we'll be back with sports news. Stay with us.
The Senate Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution cordially invites the public, civil society, interest groups, and professional bodies to a 2-day zonal public hearing on the proposed further alteration to the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, holding simultaneously across the 6 geopolitical zones of the nation. Date: Friday, July 4th to Saturday, July 5th, 2025. Venue: across the 6 geopolitical zones. Join fellow citizens to speak on vital issues like electoral and local government reforms, judicial and legislative improvement, security and devolution of powers, fiscal reforms, state creation, and more. Bills can be downloaded at sccr.gov.ng/Senate-bills. For inquiries, contact the clerk to the committee, Dr. Innocent Nabiri, on 080-370-92195. Signed, Distinguished Senator Barrow I. Jibrin, CFR, Deputy President of the Senate and Chairman, Senate Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution.
And in sports, we'll begin with the FIFA Club World Cup, where Palmeiras rallied from 2 goals down to snatch a 2-2 draw against Inter Miami and qualify top of Group A for the FIFA Club World Cup last 16, a result that sent both teams through to the round of 16. Both teams finished on 5 points, with Inter Miami second on goal difference, while Al Ahly of Egypt and FC Porto were both eliminated after they drew 4-4. Inter Miami and Lionel Messi will next play European champions Paris Saint-Germain, where the Argentine spent 2 seasons from 2021 to 2023, while Palmeiras will face fierce rivals Botafogo in an all-Brazilian clash for a place in the quarterfinals. More games are on the schedule for Tuesday night as Australian club Auckland FC face Boca Juniors of Argentina, while Benfica will lock horns with German champions Bayern Munich. Transfer stories now. Manchester United have submitted an improved bid of more than £60 million for Brentford striker Brian Mbeumo. This month, United had a bid of £45 million plus up to £10 million in add-ons rejected. After a £62.5 million capture of Matthews Cunha from Wolves, United are keen to further strengthen their squad before they return for pre-season training. Next month, new Tottenham manager Thomas Frank and other top Premier League clubs are also keen on signing the 25-year-old Mbuemo. While top Premier League clubs seem to be intentional about strengthening their teams, Premier League runners-up Arsenal are yet to make any notable addition. Former Arsenal midfielder Alex Song, in an exclusive conversation with TVC News, urged Gunners fans around the world to stay calm and be positive.
I think Arsenal, they improve a lot. Honestly, this year you cannot tell them blame them because the way how they're playing, the way how they deserve to play to win the league, but they didn't have the chance because we have a lot of striker that was injured. When you have a team and you don't have the striker, it's very hard. That's why Mika was managed the way how he can manage, but he was doing well as well. Without striker, it's very difficult because you need someone who smell goal. And that time we missed all those guys that was injured. That's why the end of the season we missed that quality of the guy who can finish score and then that's why it was the problem. But we're playing very good. I think we are very close. I'm confident that what the player Arsenal signed and the player we come in, I'm sure this year, the next season will be the final one because every year we're saying this one and we are not lucky, but hopefully next year we don't have an injury and we can want.
Indiana Pacers superstar Tyrese Haliburton could miss the entire 2025-2026 NBA season after having surgery on the torn right Achilles tendon. The 25-year-old fell to the court without any contact as he attempted to drive to the basket 7 minutes into the first quarter of the decisive Game 7 of the NBA Championship Playoff Finals at the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was in obvious distress as he was helped from the court and missed the rest of the game, which his side lost 103 to 91 points to end their hopes of a first NBA title. Haliburton had a successful surgery and has a recovery time of 8 to 10 months. The two-time All-Star is the third high-profile player to suffer a ruptured Achilles tendon in this season's playoffs, following Boston's Jason Tatum and Milwaukee Bucks' Damian Lillard. And in tennis, Iga Swiatek served off her preparations for the Wimbledon Open with a straight set victory over Victoria Azarenka at the Bad Homburg tournament on Tuesday. The five-time Grand Slam champion eased to a 6-4, 6-4 success over her fellow former world number one to reach the quarterfinals. Swiatek, whose three-year French Open reign was ended in the semi-finals by Aryna Sabalenka earlier this month, will next face either Maria Sakkari or Ekaterina Alexandrova. The 24-year-old has never reached the final of a grass court tournament, and her best performance at Wimbledon was a run to the quarterfinals in 2023. And the Wimbledon Open organizers are planning to honor two-time champion Andy Murray with a statue at the All England Club. Murray, who ended a 77-year wait for a British winner of the men's singles title in 2013 before winning again in 2016, retired after the Paris Olympics last year. Wimbledon hope the statue will be revealed in 2027 during the championship's 150th anniversary. A bronze statue of Fred Perry, the last British men's champion before Murray, was erected at Wimbledon in 1984 to mark the 50th anniversary of his first singles championship. Tennis greats Johnny McEnroe and Billie